Hey guys, and welcome to a legendary showdown between the king of all ducks, Mr. Captain Morgan, and his ravenous Beastmen forces, as he takes on Federico here and the Dwarven Throng. Should be a good fun fight. This is particularly a matchup which heavily favours the Beastmen, but I've spoken to Captain Morgan recently, and he's not a big fan of taking single entity chariots and so forth at the moment, as they are slightly bugged, and that's going to make it a much fairer matchup. So certainly a man of class and culture. For the front line, he has cheap and cheerful gore herds and ungors mixed all the way along in a nice vanguard position, just looking to bomb rush the enemy as quickly as possible, wrap around the flanks, get through the dowie defensive formation, and shut down those juicy backline gunners and cannon crew. We do have some bestigals as well with their mighty cleave and axes. They certainly can do a decent job. We have the two basic ones, and surprisingly, Korok's man rippers as well. So these bad boys are anti-large, which isn't going to be too handy against the dwarfs unless you are expecting Thoric. And 9 times out of 10 at the moment, dwarf players are indeed bringing Thoric Ironbrow on top of his Anvil of Doom. So this is actually quite a nice big brain play, which we'll have to wait to see if it pays off. If you've seen the fun though, actually, you know it will not. But at the same time, they still have better stats than basic bestigals, and they look very cool, so, you know, there's no problems bringing them here. We do have Torx the Brass Ball in the back, very good up against dwarves because he can solo pretty much any of their characters. Will struggle a bit more up against someone like Ungrim, but he's going to be coming in with the Brass Body, a very powerful buff to himself. The Blood Beast, Slaughter Call and Blood Greed, looking to get to grips with the enemy where possible. On the far side, we have a Brave Shaman of Beasts on foot, I believe, or is he indeed on a chariot? He is on a single chariot, so we are going to be seeing one today, coming with Flock of Doom as well as the Curse. We have Harpies up in the sky on the right-hand side, and Centaurs on the left. For the forces of the dwarfs, we do indeed have Longbeards dotted along, including the Grumbling Guard. More Longbeards with great weapons as well. Protecting double Thunderers, who are in the central core here, alongside a cannon. And in the back line, we have Hammerers. Oh, that's really cool. We have double Hammerers mixed in with the Dwarf Warriors. Excited to see how they perform. They now do come with more splash attacks, so in theory, should be better up against factions like the Beastmen. We also have two Slayers in the back burner. And we have the Hero Dream Team of Felix and Grombrindal. Felix on the left going to be coming in with that helping hand, which obviously, on his Blood Oath in fact, he's coming with, which is going to be that lovely regeneration to Grombrindal, which I like to see. He's also very good at clearing out the chaff of the enemy, and can certainly do some good work. But then we have Grombrindal. Now, Grombrindal is going to be kind of the main focus of today's video. Grombrindal, what do you guys think of him? Do you think he's absolutely worthless and useless now? Because there's a few problems with Gromby. He's coming in with the Rune Axe, which is a nice discouragement to enemy leadership, plus extra armor-piercing weapon damage. Quite good against Beastmen, who do lack leadership sometimes. He also has Grombrindal Has No Fear, which is a bonus 24 melee defense and unbreakable to nearby troops. My current problem with Grombrindal is, the only reason I would bring him before was because of the Flash Bomb. The Flash Bomb was very powerful, super useful, and almost a must pick, and that's why we saw Grombrindal so much, even when his cost increase went up. But his cost increase has stayed up. He's lost the ability to Flash Bomb. He does buff nearby troops with that Grombrindal Has No Fear, but Thoric Ironbrow does that better. Ungrim is a cheaper, likewise unbreakable lord, so I feel like Grombrindal doesn't really have a niche anymore. He's kind of in this weird position where he's worse at his job than Ungrim as well as Thoric, and I don't know why you'd ever need to bring Grombrindal. I mean, that's just my personal preference right now, but what do you guys think? Let me know. But we are going to see if I am proven wrong here, and you can see him and Felix are dumpstering these gore herds right now, alongside the Grumbling Guard, which is a really cool unit I don't see terribly often, but I think we certainly should. They're actually quite a strong staple. Bestigals are starting to rush in, looking to overwhelm the weakish Dwarven Warrior flank. Thunderers are unleashing some hell upon the Harpies, who have darted down, but a nice little bit of quick reactions from the Dwarf player, coming with those Slayers to try and stop the enemy. It looks like we are going to be seeing the first Flock of Doom. It is Overcast, in fact, catching all of these units. Flock of Doom still good against Dwarfs, despite the fact they have that resistance. On this other side, Ungors have managed to force their way just about on top of the Thunderers, who do currently have a big debuff going down on them. And the Dwarf Warrior has been run over by Bestigals, Centaurs. In fact, these guys are the Grog Hooves of Wolfsrun, the Regiment Renown, are actually moving into combat, looking to try to overrun the Thunderers, who do sneakily escape and allow the Slayers to come in and intercept. Dwarf player being very good so far with his picking and choosing his engagements. Korok's Man Rippers are struggling up against the Grumbling Guard. I mean, Felix is in here as well. Torx the Brass Ball is starting to give it back to the enemy, and he will do very well to snipe out Felix. If you find yourself with Felix up against you, always kill him first, because it takes away the healing from your opponent there. The Brave Shaman on his glorious chariot is going to be rolling around. I don't mind seeing one Tuskor chariot now and again. Obviously, if you see like 3 or 4 of them, it's when you start to weep and cry. But he's being used to good effect here, running over those Thunderers, force them away, who are broken right now. Slayers engaged with Goreherds is really a bad engagement for the poor Slayers, I'm afraid. We are going to see, once again, it looks like a Flock of Doom coming down, catching both the heroes as well as the Hammerers, who are up to only 6 kills at the moment and taking pretty considerable damage as Torx the Brass Bull does ramrod his way through them. Look at this beautiful beast just rutting his horns there and kind of taking a little breather before coming back in and slaughtering a load of dwarfs, not even using his axes. He doesn't think they're worth it, though he does do some lovely roly-polies there. He's going to have to escape, and really good micromanagement here by Cap Morgan, realising the Slayers have approach, just vibing, getting out of there, bomb rushing away as quickly as possible. Brave Shaman does manage to shatter the Grumbling Guard. That is a oath they're going to have to take as a Slayer one for sure. Coming up next as the Brave Shaman does butcher them pretty much the last dwarf. Maybe one will survive and take the Slayer oath. Perhaps come the next go trip, you never know. Harpies are now floating into the back line. They have survived into the later stages of the game, and the Thunderers have rallied. This is a big problem for dwarfs in general. When their units break, if your opponent has 1 or 2 mobile forces left, you just can't get them back because they get overrun just like this. It looks like the Centicles with thrown axes, likewise the Grog Hooves of Wolf's Run, are doing some pretty good damage now, aiming at those Slayers who have come in to try to surround Torx the Brass Bull, who needs to be very careful. Though I've kind of bad talked Grombrindal a little bit, he still is a mighty dwarvish warrior, and will certainly be able to give the business to Torx the Brass Bull if given the opportunity. Lovely little use of Torx's ability there, just to do that bit of explosion and get out of a dangerous situation. It's also going to do nice damage to those Slayers who are currently being picked apart. Bestigors, as well as the Brave Shaman ramrodding in. You can see these poor Hammers really are starting to get run over here. Bestigors, though, starting to go down. The Thrown Axe has been looped up and over, raining hellfire down upon the Slayers, who are currently down to 12 models. And actually, it looks like that Brave Shaman may be getting caught here, surrounded by Felix and Grombrindal. No flash bomb to pin this bad boy in place, but despite that, nearly breaking it. It was wavering, and Felix is quite happily healing up Grombrindal at the moment. Looks like some last Slayers are going to be fulfilling their Slayer Oath up against Torx the Brass Bull. Nope, he actually rolls away and they're going to get killed by thrown axes. That is certainly a less heroic way for these Slayers to go down. Hammers are struggling quite badly as well because Torx is just such a beast. He's got a really cool model as well. I'm a big fan all round, and he's certainly carving the dwarfs asunder. Harpies do manage to land on the Hammers, doing some good work there. The Brave Shaman is going to be swooping in on the chariot, though. Oh my god, look at that, right down the line. And even though there's only one chariot in this game, it has had pretty huge impact so far for the Beastmen forces. But again, once as I said before, well played to Cap Morgan for not deciding to bring like 4 Tuskor chariots and 2 heroes on chariots. It's what I've been seeing quite a lot at the moment, and it's really obnoxious for dwarves to deal with. Centicles with thrown axes do charge in here, hitting the Hammers. The Brave Shaman as well coming in, riding dirty. Longbeards are surrounded, Goreherds also coming in, but the Dwarfs are kind of holding on in there. Things do look a little bit bad, but we have some Hammers in the distance, as well as Felix and Grombrindal, both very healthy, and the Beastmen are looking pretty tattered. Torx the Brass Bull down to just 1,600 HP means he can't really commit to the fight too much. We do have some thrown axes, and it looks like the Brave Shaman, though, has been forced off. Now, if he rallies, that is huge, because the curse is going to be very useful here to nuke the stats of these characters and allow the cheaper infantry of the Beastmen to really drag them down. Torx is going to go in for a little bit of a cycle charge, and he does actually fling Grombrindal free of his beastly entrapments there. Oh my god, he took a big slap though, Torx. So I think he's down to 1,300 HP. Grombrindal going to be coming in. Let's go, boy, let's go. Let's see if the mighty dwarf can prove me wrong and be a beast of destruction. Well, he gets a big hit on Torx, getting down to 1,000 HP, but a well-placed explosion is going to allow him to flee once more. And the Hammers have indeed come back into the fray. Up to 74 kills, these bad boys, but only 750 damage value. Centicores doing a good job on them all day so far. Torx Brass Bull is chilling in the distance. I do not mind this play whatsoever, though cycle charging will have to happen. But use up your ammunition first, whittle down the Hammers, get them off the field, and then just cycle charge Felix to death. The Bestigor herds are now coming in and surrounding Grombrindal rather nicely. Goreherds as well could float around and try to do some pretty decent damage because the Hammers are broken and running for their lives. Balance Power, though, is still dead even in the later stages. And once again, Torx the Brass Bull goes toe-to-toe with the legendary White Dwarf, who's been hacked and sliced apart from all angles, but he delivered a few big hits there, and it is in fact enough to break Torx despite the brass body being popped. He should be able to come back, though, down to just 500 HP. 1 or 2 more hits, and he, well, could have been shattered. The Hero Core doing good work. Felix is very good up against Bestigors. He doesn't have his sword here today. The sword is what makes him really good against infantry. Gives him flaming attacks and a big bonus versus infantry all round. And he's doing good work so far, just about clinging on in here. Grombrindal's like, don't worry, lad, we've got this, just stay by my side and we'll be fine. And that may be true, because the healing onto Grombrindal would be absolutely huge. The big problem is Felix is but a weakly manling. He is no stout, doughy warrior, and he may break. I don't know if Grombrindal still has his unbreakable ability left. If he does, he needs to pop it now to keep Felix in this fight, because if Felix stands his ground here, there's a very, very good chance the Dwarfs might be able to win this. But if Felix breaks, it's going to be game over, because there's no more support for Grombrindal. But the Bestigors are forced back. Torx the Brass Ball is wavering, and there's going to be allies running away next to him. That's actually going to lower his leadership even more. And it looks like the Grog Hooves are going to be charging into the fray once more. They do have regeneration, which is quite nice for them because of their glorious... They could probably get on actually quite well with Buckman Rangers, because I believe it's because they drink so much they actually have all these cool stats. Centaurs are going to charge in. Getting the cycle charging in on Felix is really going to be quite key here. Felix is up to 65 kills, Grombrindal on 71. This is an epic last stand. We do have some Harpies who can come back, and some Gore Herds as well. Torx may want to risk a charge in on Felix, because I think one big hit from Torx will break him. But it is risky, because Grombrindal could easily slice Torx's head off, and then all of a sudden they're in all kinds of problems. The Bestigors still getting in there, doing the decent work. They are up to 132 kills now. Harpies also swooping in. Gore Herds are starting to waver. Felix just about holding for now, but he is at his healing cap himself. Grombrindal still has a little way to go. He wants to get all of that juicy healing if possible. Gore Herds break. The Bestigors are also starting to run for their lives. This is an amazing fight by Felix, but no, he's starting to waver. In come the Centaurs. Torx as well does charge in. Rune Axe of Grombrindal has been popped, lowering the leadership of nearby foes. That is huge right now. If he can hit them and break these guys, but Torx does manage to nip in and out, grabbing Felix, dragging him by the scruff of his neck, and Felix is slain with one mighty hit. Grombrindal still does have that negative leadership to all nearby enemies, or enemies he hits, I should say. So he really wants to be pounding down these Bestigors right now, who are wavering and just about on the edge. Likewise, the Gore Herds starting to waver as well. Centaurs can be swinging up and around to charge in, up against the White Dwarf himself. And Torx the Brass Ball is going to be lining up. He's taking a few steps back, I think. Getting ready for a big fat charge in. Can Grombrindal do it? I mean, it's actually still pretty close. Balance power is basically dead even. The Bestigors are broken, and they're some of the biggest damage dealers left. Centaurs, yes, they can do some nice cycle charging, but you can't break the White Dwarf. He is unbreakable. Torx feints and retreats from an attack there, trying to lure out the White Dwarf. And now we're going to see the Centaurs coming in the back, as Torx comes in on the front, getting some pretty nasty work done onto Grombrindal, who's slicing and dicing his way through Centaurs at the moment. If he can kill Torx, I think the Beastmen hordes will probably break and run for their lives, but is that going to be enough? I'm not so sure. Nope, Torx gets in there and finishes off the White Dwarf before he can kill Torx. What an epic close game, and a Pyrrhic victory for sure. There was basically nothing left for Captain Morgan, a very beat up Torx, who with one good hit would have shattered. He only had like 500 HP left, and Grombrindal with a good roll certainly could do up to like 300 damage with a strike and bring down the hopes and dreams of the Beastmen forces. But well played to Federico as well as Captain Morgan. Both these guys played absolutely amazing, representing DBD and BBB. Really awesome game. I'm very impressed with both these players, and some interesting builds as well. The White Dwarf, though we talked about at the start of the battle, 107 kills, 13k damage dealt, 2,480 damage value. Grombrindal is putting his axe down. He's had enough of this talk that he isn't a beast still. And maybe he's not so worthless. We'll have to re-evaluate him a little bit. He is slightly more tanky than Ungrim in general, but is it worth the cost? And that's my big problem with Grombrindal. He is very expensive, and without the flash bomb anymore, I'm not convinced that he is a viable pick, at least competitively. I just feel like Thoric and Ungrim are a better choice than Grombrindal, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Let me know down below in the comments. We will go through the damage dealt and damage value of all of the units in just a second, but before we get to that, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, a big old thumbs up underneath the video, subscribe for more glorious Total War Warhammer content, and comment down below, what do you think of this matchup? What do you think of the battle here today? Any MVPs, any favourite units, and all that good stuff. And yeah, if you don't have anything to say, simply yell quack at me. I really do enjoy reading all the comments. There's also something new on YouTube that I don't know if that many YouTubers have. I got a weird message from YouTube saying I've been chosen to do have like this other little button under my YouTube thing. It's called like give a gift or something. I don't really know what it does, but I've turned it on, so enjoy that random button as well. I don't know, honestly, it's weird. I didn't really understand what they were going on about, but I guess I'll do some research and find out, hopefully, and give you guys an update next video. If you guys want to submit videos to me, just like Captain Morgan did, there's a link down below to my Discord, and I have a Patreon down there as well if you'd like to support the channel. By the way, onto the damage dealt and damage value. Torx the Brass Bull, 38 kills, which doesn't seem too crazy whatsoever, but 9,000 damage dealt, 2,383 damage value, assassinating characters and high value threats is what he's all about, and he's such a tank, a really nice pick up against the Dwarfs, though he can be shot from afar. 1,419 damage value, 99 kills from the Brave Shaman, an absolute world beater here today, and sneaking in one chat in the build is absolutely fine in my opinion, but I already said it a couple of times, but I'm just very impressed Cat Morgan restrained from using Tusk or Chariots, because they decimate Dwarfs at the moment. Gore Herds didn't do too much, but again, they were here to swarm one unit, getting into the back line and getting a rather tasty 835 damage value. Bestigors across the board performed pretty good. 700 damage value here, 1,847, and then 1,064 on the Gorok's Man Rippers. I quite like them as this, like, 5,000 IQ, big brain play of, hey, we have anti-large, everyone brings Thoric on his chair against us, we get these guys into him, they tear him asunder, but at the same time, they still have decent AP stats and all the good stuff. The Grog Hooves of Wolfthrun did pretty solid, 1,000 damage value on them, 1,564 on the basic unit. A nice counter, having at least 2 of them, plus the 2 Harpies, in case your opponent did indeed end up bringing Gyrocopters. And at the same time, always good to throw axes into Dwarfs, but particularly the Slayers and other such units. Harpies doing good backline harass. We've already gone over Grombrindal, 2,480 damage value, good stuff there. Felix, 836, struggling on the damage value a little bit. 79 kills isn't terrible, but him healing up and keeping Grombrindal in the fight as long as he did is really nice. And that's also something to take into account with this damage dealt, damage value, and how well the White Dwarf performed. He was getting healed the entire time. Longbeards fared better than the Dwarf Warriors, as to be expected, but to be honest, nothing crazy along the line for their stats. The Grumbling Guard have a 1,029 damage value. Take your hats off, lads, you did the Dwarvish folk proud. For the Slayers, 989 and 664 damage value isn't too shabby. The Hammers, 800 and 850, not unfortunately covering their costs here. The Thunderers struggled, only 366 and 473 damage value. Basically just got swarmed, which was their big problem. Likewise, so did the Cannon, with just shy of 400 damage value. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this one, was a super fun one to cast. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.